Hello, my people. Welcome back to my session. My name is Abdul Ghani Abdulaziz. What we will be taking ourselves through today is the sum ifs function, the average ifs, the count ifs function. Have you ever come across a situation where you have been told to find the sum of two different conditions like okay, get me the total compensation for staffs under IT department, but they are contract staffs. So now you have two criteria. They fall under the IT department, but they are the contract staffs. So they are two different conditions. That is where the sum ifs function comes in. The difference between the sum if and the sum ifs function is just the condition. The sum if s, that's the one with the s, you can carry out operation that falls under different conditions. But for the sum if, you can only use that for a single condition. So if you have never come across a sum if function, let's just take ourselves through it now. For the sum if equals to sum if, you would notice it's showing you on the tooltip that it adds the cells specified by a given condition, by a given condition. But for the sum ifs, it adds the cells specified by a given set of conditions, a given set of conditions. So let's rush through the sum if function. So when you run the sum if function, the first tooltip that will show is the range. So it's asking you what's the range of what you want to sum. So want to sum for this department. Then the next tooltip is a criteria, which is this. Then it's asking you for the sum range. So the sum range is this for the compensation. Then you hit enter. But you will discover that this is the total compensation for accounting, the account management. Now, if you have been told, okay, what is the total compensation for account management that falls under the full-time status? You know you have first criteria is the account management and the second criteria is the status. Now we're having two different criteria. You might even be told, okay, what was the sum of the compensation for the department that falls under full-time status, that falls under the DMR benefit? So you're having different criteria. So let's run this equals to sum ifs. So for the sum ifs, the first tooltip here is a sum range. The sum range. So what do we want to sum? We want to sum the compensation. That is what we want to sum. Then the first criteria range that Excel is asking you is okay, what is the range that you want to sum? Now, the range I want to sum, I'm picking the department for my first criteria. You might decide that you want to pick your status for the first criteria. You will still have the same value. Now, I'm picking the department as my first criteria range. Okay. Now, you have selected the criteria range. That's the first criteria range. You hit your comma. The next tooltip here is the criteria one, which is your account management. You hit your comma. The next is the criteria range 2. So my criteria range 2 is the status. So the status range have been selected. You hit your comma. Then the criteria for the status, which is the full time. then you hit your enter. Now you can see that the value that you are having here is different from the value that you have here. For this value, you have this, and for this value, you have this. You're having two different values. But this tells you that you have 3,702,000 for the full time status only. Now, if you hit your field handle, you will notice that for every other department, you are saying zero because you have actually not performed a step that you are meant to do. So, what do you need to do? So, if you notice, there are some cells that are changing. If you look at this, it's changing from cell L3 down to L4, down to L5, down to L6. But you don't want that. What you want is you want the cell to move freely from K5 down to K6. You want this to move down to the training department. So if you come to your formula, it is your column K that you want to be free, but you still want the full-time status to remain the same. You only want to know for the full-time status. So what you need to do is just lock this cell by hitting your F4. If you have some keyboards that have function, you will need to press your function F4. Now you would notice that there is a dollar sign. This dollar sign means you have locked that particular cell. So what it means is that particular cell will not move from that position. It will remain on that same position. When you hit your enter, use your fill handle, you will notice now you have your answer. Thank you. We would see in the next session for the count ifs and the average ifs.